there. Okay, so I've printed out one of these, and then it gave me the illegal medium type, so I have to try and use the other driver. What we are going to do, and I was thinking, you know, I shouldn't do this on paper, but, you know, they provide these on paper rather than on the computer. The point of the exercise we're going to do now is to look at group roles, right? So the idea is you have a certain number of people in your group, and you have six questions, right? So it is a relatively simple print out with 6 questions. The 6 questions are, and if I control this down, 6 questions are, to what extent do the following apply to each of the people in the group, right? So you put the name of each person along the top, and you decide on a scale of, and I found this a bit odd, response alternatives: 0, not at all; 2, a little; 4, moderate; 6, some; 8, a lot; and then it says values between 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 may also be used.
So 2.8 is valid, 3 is not.
So values between those, and I'm thinking, well, 0 isn't between any of those, but 2 is between them. And do they just mean on a scale of 1 to 9, or 0 to 9, where 0 is not at all and 9 is completely?
Yeah.
But if 8 is already a lot, what does 9 mean? It's like, you are better than the maximum. It's turning it to 11. So I thought that was an interesting way of doing their form.
9 out of 8 people agree. 9 out of 8 people agree.
9 out of 8. But the roles, right? So you're supposed to analyze each other, and you're all supposed to do this together. And then the principle is that having done this, you personally write down what your opinion of everybody else is, right? And then you can actually share those with each other and see, you know, where people agree about you, right? So you can kind of get that feedback from each other about what other people see you as, and what you, because you are answering yourself, right? On the end here, it is yourself, so you are supposed to answer for yourself. And you're supposed to answer for everyone else in your group. So I might need to get those printed, another 20 of those printed. I tried to print 20 here, and the thing could, well, I will have to resend it. It is actually online. It is in the room, right? So if you have a look at it, it's in course materials. So you can see it in the blackboard. In the blackboard room under course materials, you can see it there. I was half conflicted on whether I should actually make this a proper digital form so that you could actually fill in a form, but printed is easier. So I will try printing it again and see if I can make
copies of it.
Yeah, well, the copies will look much worse. So I'm just trying to. I did hit print. Aha. So I'll download it to roles. I'll save it there. That's fine, and then I can open it in that, and then I can print it and use Xerox print copies 23 and fit to page, one-sided print. Right. Okay. So I'll just read out the questions, and I'll go and get your copy so you can fill them in. But so the things you have to think about are: assumes leadership as a major influence on the group's it has a major influence on the group's direction and activities. Right. So does the person assume leadership? So a 9 is more than a lot.
Then you're a dictator?
Potentially. Complies is submissive, quiet, or silent. Or silent or quiet. So how submissive is the person? More than a lot. So they probably can't be both the first and the second high, right? That would be very unusual to be leader and submissive. Is action and product oriented, determined to get things done. Right? So how much on the are you product focused and you're trying to get things done? Is sociable, contributes to good relationships or good relations and a congenial atmosphere. Congenial. Do Norwegians use the word congenial?
I don't even use that word.
As an English speaker, we wouldn't generally refer to, oh, this is a very congenial atmosphere in here. Nice. Nice would be appropriate. Yeah, it's a nice environment. Yeah. Congenial, kind of nice. Frequently occupies the group's attention. Frequently occupied. So if you added me as a column on the end here, you could decide that I was 10 on the scale. And unwilling to follow the group's plans, wants to do things his/her way, is in opposition, hers attention lies elsewhere. So basically, are they either kind of ignoring the group and pushing through their ideas, or basically just completely ignoring the group and on their mobile phone the whole time? I haven't noticed that one much yet, so I'm assuming there won't be many 9s.
How do you know that you're not following the plan? We haven't even gotten to the part where we like made the plan.
Just they're not following the plan, but are they working towards helping the group, or are they ignoring you? Right. Okay. So I'll go and get those printouts. Hopefully, now that the printer will hopefully work for me. And I'll bring that, and you can think about those.
Trying to get Charles to work. You have internet? Yeah, because mine's been oh, good fun.
This is very easy.
Okay.
This connection is good. I wouldn't say it's known for being good in this room.
What?
Yeah,
I guess that's accurate.
Right.
But
There's the
it's
how
very
far you
deep.
can
And I'm very
drag and jump.
so it's making mistakes. That's it's strange.
Or very low.
It's Polish.
Okay, so basically like more.
We found the situation.
Sorry, after this I'm trying to work out this
I think we had another situation. This is a lot of racism. Our team just got like, I just have to figure out the numbers.
You and your
so please no
guys
racism.
actually had a
Pretty
trouble
please. This goes to the entire group. No sexism, please. And just generally be nice.
Just help out.
How you want.
Okay, so what's his name?
Great benefits as the leader of this group. First of all, I'm really smart.
How is that a benefit of being a group leader?
You're not recognizing my quirks.
Oh, right.
I'm doing it.
You're
Also, I'm very mentally stable.
Yeah, I think it's an impeachment. At least we maybe can succeed here.
No, you're slow. That's my best skill. On the lights.
Oh, it's smart lights.
You don't have it?
Smart lights. Yeah. Basically, they go off when you want to be on, and they go on.
Oh yeah.
And we've tried to use it several times, but it's really
Vad jävligt
smart
dröjt.
system where we can actually turn on the lights when we're right and turn them off when we're not here. Yeah, no, it's
I think that's pretty complicated to access.
I don't. Yeah, we. As long as we know which person is this person,
we're basically
oh, we're talking about
we can turn the lights on by standing out so we can save electricity. Just allow us to turn them off ourselves.
Everybody's name?
No, not that one either.
All our,
So can I borrow
I
something
think
all our names are in the contract.
That's not correct.
that's
One of those is here.
Or actually no.
One more. Another copy. Didn't get me here. It's just working down.
I'll just do your, because there are shifting, are there anyone here as the same person? No, we don't actually. Then I'll just to take your first. Then we can write.
So we do by ourselves first and we'll discuss it and we'll roll down.
Like that's the thing. We're supposed to write the number.
I'm just writing
Between you can either use 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, or between 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, which I guess is then 2, 4, 4 and 6. And 8, but not 6. It's a scale from 0 to 9.
You don't have to discuss it while you do this, right? Yeah. You are doing it individually. Yeah. So number. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could all agree on your number, so it'd be easier.
Yeah, we'll use the standard one.
Yeah, I made you a 1. When I wrote you a 1.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so you guys can fill in
Yeah, I think so.
in relation to
But are we mostly using 0 to 4?
We're doing it individually and then we're
you can review us as a group.
Because those are the actual options and then it says other. Yeah, makes more sense.
Oh, okay, between. I think they mean the value between these one as in 1, 3 rather than 9.
also obviously we won't take anything with this person, right?
No, it was not.
Just try to.
Let's do it on the first impressions. So, yeah, you can do this at at the beginning, the middle, and the end. You could do it like you can clear now and clear at the end of the course. So if you know, if you feel more confident about your answers and how to change, the first impressions will be stuck with quite much.
So with these roles, what the students are looking at is initially they were very quiet because they're all going through doing individual things. After this, what they'll do is they'll combine the scores and they'll go through and present their scores. So for each individual, so people give them the scores under each question. This gives them a chance to see if they recognise and identify with this, or do the, oh, why did you give me a 6 for this? And someone else gave me a 2, right? So when there are variations, you can discuss those. But you need to make sure you don't linger too long in any one individual, so I'll be moving them through. So you'll be able to see me do that. The other point is this, and particularly when you're going to do this remotely, you'd have to think about how, you know, how they interact in the forums, how they interact with email, how quickly they are, how their text-based responses are. And so that will be an interesting challenge for us with the remote groups. It's also very hard to tell when someone's behind a keyboard whether or not they're being submissive or just ignoring you. So some of these can be quite tricky to differentiate online.
Now, it doesn't have to be exact. Don't get fixated on it. Is this exactly a 6, or is it a 6.3 or a 6.4?
Oh, we're doing 5 decimals.
5 different places. So you're getting pi and e.
Okay, so you're can we do this in the as an expression? So you're like 4 plus x.
Well, I think how the other way you do this would be with smiley faces. So you draw a smiley face for the amount that they are. So a frowny face, not at all, and a happy face, very much. So a neutral face would be somewhere in
So if the question was, is super angry and aggressive all the time, super happy face?
Probably can. But right now I think only I can.
Version of what it's when so when I was 14, we had a Fijian Indian who came in with our English teacher in the class, and he tried to tell us that when someone says, "It's a nice day, isn't it?" When it's nice, you're supposed to say no. Because they see people. So then you need to do a double negative to make it true. So you have to say no, it is a nice day.
You haven't washed the windows. Yes. That's also a fun one.
Yes. That's not how English speakers speak. It's technically how we should speak, but it's not. But occasionally we use it. Occasionally we use it as double negative to mean a positive, and sometimes we use it to mean.
What's an example of double negative as a positive?
Minus 2 times minus 2.
No, when you say,
I tried to be really cool.
so when I at the moment I'm only getting the bad jargon ones and I didn't do anything. Right? I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing, right? So you get I didn't do nothing, which actually is not a double negative, right? It's a negative, right? But you can say, and you can logically say that I have I am not uncomfortable. Which means uncomfortable.
Yeah, so that makes you.
And you have to make it hard.
So how close are you right now? Okay, so once you're all done, the process is that you go round in your group, preferably from person number 1, and then.
Were we supposed to agree on?
Well, so long as you guys know who the person is, right? Yeah. So you start with one person in your group, for example, maybe person number 1, and you read out to that person the scores, and if there is something that you want to say to justify that,
That's your score.
normally what you're doing is you're also so you can each just say the score that you have for the person, right? If everybody's in agreement, and it's kind of everybody agrees why, you can have just one person give the reason why they felt that. If so you can start with the first person saying, I gave you a 6 for, say, assumed leadership. You could say, well, okay, yeah, so a 6. Yeah, so far it's felt like you were taking some leadership in the group, right? And it's a reasonable amount, right? And then everybody can just say, yeah, I had 6, or I had 3, and I had 4, and so you get the range of numbers. And if there's one that stands out, then you could have a short, like, why was there discrepancy, right? And then compare that to the score you gave yourself in each of those categories. And so quickly move through, just seeing what other people's impressions of you are. If there is a strong variation, then we can have that discussion around why some people felt you were very controlling, or like so taking lots of leadership, where other people felt you took no leadership at all, right? So that's where you can have a longer discussion about why that interpretation was there. As we'll say repeatedly, there is no right or wrong answer here. It is not, well, actually there is a wrong one, but taking leadership, if you give some people a 9, that's fine. It's okay to be a 9 in leadership. It's okay to be a 0 in leadership. It's okay to be not at all submissive. So 0 or not at all submissive means you're not at all submissive, so you're really engaged. And even if you're very submissive, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just how people see you, right? So that's reflection on you. Okay? So don't treat it as kind of people telling you off for something, but more as how other people see you. So far with this very lightweight, you've only had a couple of days of working together. Okay? Right, so you guys do this internally. We'll come and listen and see how you're going and see if we have any suggestions around further explanations of why one gave a 6 and the other gave a 32. Did anybody give a 32? No. Okay. Okay, you guys start. So take somebody.
No, the first email about it self-talk.
You can either do it as well. It's up to you how you want to do it.
You start.
Okay, should we start? Where would okay, give me 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Oh, you go that way. Sorry, I thought you were.
This is really scary.
We wait a minute or 2.
I'm gonna run
find out the top of my
so I was gonna go in person 6 with like everyone scores for myself.
I think 6.
Yeah, for
Just one situation that was like that was I gave it a leadership, or originally when we were doing the group part, I was I asked him to do leadership because that's what I wanted. He was exactly like
So
enthusiastic about that.
try to do so have the same avatar.
Yeah, in general, like I have no problem like
Other people see you kind of
I gave you a 1 just because you haven't been here all the time. So sorry.
Okay, then we'll just start and you can kick in afterwards. Okay,
Second person.
yeah, I just started fucking around. So we're in between okay. Summer. Okay,
three. You have to there is kind of avoid any responsibility for you.
Actually, the product oriented determined to get things done.
yeah, but your question so far, that's how it is. Yeah. Oh yeah. Actually, good.
So
the question is, should we do it? I just got the question of you have much time, so we should just go for sequence.
so it's just
Yeah, should we do that? Maybe easier.
The ritual is that you discuss one person with one question.
Yeah.
So, and then all of you agree on this number.
Yes.
Then person 2, same question.
Yeah. Okay. Which means question 1. Yeah. Do you have anything for summer? Question 1.
good relations and like
3.
good atmosphere.
Yes.
2 seconds.
Yes. Another 3. Which means we have an average of. Yeah. But 3, 4.
Yeah.
Why are you there?
I think it's the way it should be, and I wanna like have an influence on the project, and it's a teamwork. So I gave similar works to almost everyone. Because for me, it's how it should be.
She came in today. Yeah. Okay. Someone there. Yeah. Question 2.
No. Same question.
Oh yeah. Okay. Same question, which is. Yeah. And I started at like 8. Yeah, and say 3. Yeah, question 1. You can write it down later on.
Last time
Anastasia.
So on average, who is the leader?
Sure. Huh. I think it's 5 because I thought she took control.
Still, their role has been guys in there.
Yeah, we have 4, 4, 5, 7.
Oh yeah, 7 feel that you're so
Yeah.
so
So I'm a bit off here, apparently.
so
I tried to say 5 now.
and the link to follow the
Well,
plan.
and I'm playing here, and
basically
I personally took a lot of. Maybe just to talk because you feel like getting into
just in case
But yeah, which means
I don't actually want to grade anyone that yet because I don't think
I'll go to the top 5.
actually say anything.
Please don't
Seeing as we haven't actually had any situations,
discuss why you gave
or
the
we
next
had
score
you
for
know
what
one,
it is.
but still that was
Don't we need
not very big. Yeah, so it's like
go to
I can't actually say. I would rather say not
the
big than 0.
Mountain out of molehill.
Okay. Yeah. What?
Mostly because I feel like there's complexity to stuff, especially the programming stuff, explained to me.
Yeah, and I get 5. So 4. Why do you give it a 2? Yes.
So I don't feel like he takes a lot of initiative. As many things as 0.
Okay.
0.
I put a 2 because I think
Okay,
if we tell you
then
to be
it
quiet,
is
and
down.
tell you to listen to, so
no.
Ignorant.
No,
Okay.
I put a 0 because I didn't consider that part. But yeah, obviously if you tell me to shut up, I'll try to keep it.
Yeah, first question, and we came to Christian next. Question 1. Yeah, so what do you give him for question 1?
9 is too high, maybe 8.
4?
Yeah.
Yeah, again 5 plus 6. So 4, 4, 6, 5.
It's like focusing on the balance.
I put a 7 because I
Yeah,
was
that's
unsure about 4 or 5, so then
yeah, that's decently within range.
around the middle.
Yeah.
I try to avoid that. That's why maybe 9 is really high, but it needs to answer.
Oh yeah, should we go through
I would
now or
not
should we
as well, mainly because I do like
Do you?
try and get
No,
my
because
reaction
I'm not.
out of the stuff, but I'm also
Again, I can
I'm
take
the
me.
one that sort of
Okay,
tries to pull a job.
Yeah, that was that should be really taken. Anyway, that means it's question 1.
7.
I'll cover talking a lot, so I give myself an 8, but yeah. Well, not too much. But yeah.
Even though you talk a lot, I still feel like everyone else is talking as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not the only one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I do it.
Yeah. Okay, should we just keep going? Question 2
I totally agree.
is compliance, is submissive, silent, and quiet.
I can see
Christopher somewhere? I actually give you an 8 because like you don't say that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, really quiet is more like okay, so I'm not playing her. Why do you as I said, I just feel like talking sometimes.
Yeah, I also put
Anyway, so
I'm curious about that too.
yeah. Okay, so basically
why both of you say that he's talking a lot, you give
someone complies a little in that way. Everyone should.
that doesn't mean that a little should try to get you guys to have more attention from the entire meeting.
how much marks you give to yourself?
Say question 6. Anastasia? I gave you a 2.
Maybe because I don't have experience that I do but I'm quite more than willing to have the discussion before I call the time.
Whether you
So
like
basically, you sort of have to tell me when to shut up.
Yeah. I like to.
And then if it fails, I'm going to say, I told you so, and then I will sort of let it slide.
Anyway,
yeah.
I didn't mind.
Yeah. You will
We
compliance with
are you been able to suppress it like to our
no, it's not that I want to be in opposition, it's just that I'm pretty strong on what
I gave him
to do.
6.
no, shoot. So, why did you end up giving such a high score?
Well, I don't feel like he argues for different things. I feel like he overall doesn't talk like really much, and he kind of agrees to most things.
I might have
No, in
missed
general for stuff where I'm done with it, just tell me because I'm pretty
quite a lot quite. Yeah,
I'll be more than happy to tell you.
might change this up.
Yes?
Because he is quite.
So
Yeah,
it's
there's like low number is
low number means high and high.
yeah, so I mixed it up.
When you ask the inverse, it's quite a tricky thing. Yep.
I put a 4.
That's the 4.
Yes, then a fine submission, silent of white
I
for
would say
Christian.
that's fairly equal scores from everyone.
Okay, I gave it a 5. Like,
Okay, so make sure you guys are moving along, right? So we do want to get this done.
we don't say anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we gave it
I hate when you're suddenly supposed to like. I hate these games because I also wanted to say that, you know, if you're compliant to silent,
Okay.
I would aim for a low score.
question 2
But you're
about
supposed to
Christian.
aim high if you're not, but that seems so counterintuitive when you're just talking.
One of the interesting things also to think, because you guys have gone through it,
So
so one of the things like where they
about
were is hard is
You're comparing them.
also
Would be a 1.
so for the last
question 2 about me.
1-1.
5.
Right?
So you're not
Yeah, I don't know what.
So for these are
Yes, sorry.
you could look at what
Okay, question 3. Okay, but yeah, we're basically before I go for the yeah.
like
We agree, everybody agreed that a
Feels a bit like
we don't talk about that. No.
I mean, it's not
Okay, I
exactly a
think
bad
I'm
thing.
Yeah, I hope pretty much. Either way, question 3 is action and productive oriented determined to get things done. Starting with
at least for social
we start. You can still have just hand
The conclusion is that this form is shit.
the highest number I would give anybody
It's
to see.
literal, yeah, 5. So it's average about 5, 6, 7,
So frequently about
How many months did you do?
And so, whereas other people use rate 0 listening one of sometimes
I think it was a bit hard to
try and work out
scores on that easy equation, but I haven't really done that.
say what was the normal and who was
So there was a lot
and you
of
kind of
force
ran
into
order
violence.
rather than actual number.
Okay.
So you can make this person
Do the
higher
same question for this last year.
in terms of the sum.
Productive oriented blah blah
You
blah.
agree on the ranking of the it doesn't really matter what the number so much was because that shifted up and down a little bit. So there are
I might have
ways
been
to
positive, like
statistically
I
analyze
might like
the
to
number.
push, but it's
Now,
actually
it'd be nice if you kept these to see if
And then the last one,
like if you name like who the put a name next to some of the people here, so that you can
Yeah,
compare
but
and see if you get a sequence like how these numbers have
okay,
gone.
so
Based
same
on
question
duration
is
experience,
And you know,
I'd
if you're
like
going
to
to
have
stats, you're actually
productive, pushing forward,
so
getting
you could do
things done.
like as mean change,
I can question
right? For like you guys feel the group has changed from having
Yeah, I always try to give it a higher score than you because I get a 7.
right? And maybe 50
Okay, I got
like
it.
how
But yeah, should we?
Yeah, no,
so the last thing is you guys before everyone else.
yeah, in my case, it's because I don't like
we
this,
throw it
because seeing as I just scored the line of sociable, the first one,
Why do
like
you
high
feel
score
sure?
is that
You
you're
said
more
7.
saying that suddenly
Wow, that was hard.
it's just me that's
So
wrong.
the icebreakers
Great part of work, everybody. So it's not so easy and a big part of our
This is
work.
something we all thought we were a bit
I wish,
Just wishful
how
thinking.
do you make sure that doesn't cause problems?
Yeah.
Early identifying
And the second question is action, productive, oriented, determined to get things done.
and in the final exercise, you guys give explaining your stuff, and I'll go
Yeah,
through
I'm
the
six.
but then we'll have the groups. Anything unusual or interesting that came out.
Okay, so
But you guys had that initial discussion.
I might have given myself a 4 as well.
yeah. Okay, 4 or 5.
I did 5. But if I wasn't if I was on the 0, I don't think I really know. So
Okay.
Yeah.
And action product oriented.
So I'm just going to turn off the display because I have to go and hunt my emails.
Okay.
But I'll sit here and I can... So, what I'm doing now is that one of the groups was wanting to discuss working on bicycle exercise work or on driving simulations, and I have two contacts. So Burke had been contacted me about having a cycle experience in the museum in Lillehammer, the Burke Museum. And I also have the ambulance simulator in the H building here. And they have a car simulation in there, and so we have two local clients for that idea, and so the job now is to find those contact details and then start that discussion with potential end user clients for those two potential projects to narrow them down over the next week to decide which one to focus on from next week. So yes, I now have to hunt through my old emails.
I don't put myself on the higher expectation. Some expect a bit lower, so I don't keep what I expect.
Yeah, social blah blah blah. And for Anastasia? 7. So high grades, what did you give us?
I think about 7 and 6 maybe.
Yeah, that seems like kind of on the track there. Social blah blah blah. Yeah, I can do 7.
I was thinking either 4 or 5. Again, I think you're a bit quiet, so maybe I'm leaning more towards 5, but I think
Why?
On the surface, everything's fine.
Feel free to report that stuff is going well as well, so that
I'm not really
I know what's going on.
sociable means how much you are talking. It's, there are introverts and extroverts. You sometimes cannot be sociable as others, but it doesn't mean you have something against others. I treat a sociable term in some different.
if I take that into consideration, maybe I'll lean more towards the 5.
So I found Paul Eric Underwood, and he is the ambulance simulator. He's managing the ambulance simulator. So I'm going to send him in, and I'm going to copy in the group.
It's a 9! No one is it?
I give myself either 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So we know now.
You don't really have to be social if you have good relations.
Yeah, just try to speak to everybody one-on-one.
Yeah.
Good relations.
Yeah,
social
again, that one I don't feel I have the... Yeah, I don't really have the background to say.
Yay, that's not bad. I gave myself a 7. But I feel like I should have given myself a 6. I was like, you mothers. Okay. Question 5. Frequently occupies the group's attention, whether you like it or not. Yeah. Starting with summer?
Yeah, one of them.
Physical lower, like people were talking. Okay.
I mean, I have to compare people to this guy. We'll get there. I don't really have any zeros or 8s, but
Yes, frequently acquired group tension. Anastasia?
4, but I'm falling a bit back from 4.
Yeah, 6. Okay, so, okay, 1, 2, 3.
Because
perhaps
you've done it like that.
Yeah.
It's the first problem, so yeah, I understand actually that no number of compliance is submissive.
Frequently acquired tension for 2. I give it 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, 3 5. Okay. Yeah. So just not 3. Why do you feel like you feel?
Feel like he's a quiet guy.
Yeah, and then frequently acquired attention, blah blah blah. Christian?
Everyone is important.
He's important, yes, lots of good things to do, but does he occupy us? I give that 2.
Well, I didn't really have time to relate myself there, but I was thinking 3, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, myself. Yeah, frequently occupied attention, yeah. 3.
7.
Yeah, but I think if someone has
Okay, and
You're the only person I've given it to.
I think I could give you a watch. For me, that was probably going to like roll. I'm just going to count the number of times you disagreed, and then that's the...
Okay, and question number 6. Unwilling to follow the group's plans, want to do things in her own way, is in opposition, her attention lies elsewhere.
And that's because of the cat.
Summer 0. Again, this is average 0.
I have to blame on everybody except you.
So, Sabina, division 4? 2. And 1.
Okay, which means everybody's down except for the grading on me. Yeah, and there's 2 for Christians.
I have 3.
Right, so now I'm looking for the Units group who contacted me a couple of years ago about sport. Teaching last year, this time-ish, about doing a bike simulator in the museum Lillehammer. So just hunting through to see if I can find their contacts again. And the other option is also to see if
taking decisions like
look up the museum in Lillehammer and see if
making decisions. Can you calculate from how much because if you decide something, you have to
I agree with that. It's like most of these numbers are
skiing and then the cycling. The run is in June.
Arguments that I have this because of this, and this.
Young bike, not enough bike.
Is it topical or is it
It's 25th of August.
If it's running, yeah, decisive because basically talkative means quantity of talk. And here, technically, this person already made the points, like this, because of this, basically already made arguments. And will be short and precise when they say something. Not necessarily, because talkative could also actually be decisive. Yes. Because one way, not the other way.
Yeah. I might really strict.
so from this school that you get, what do you think? What should be included in each of them?
Is that the bicycle?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, but I would have guessed that it was wrong. Yeah, it's a lot of, yeah, but then it's also down. You have to go up and you go down.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Unless you have sort of feel that you have to do something to break, but you will feel rather so silent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I currently hunting. May have been 2 years ago, but I also need to find
So just think about your own feedback and think that people need to
images.
why don't you go for a walk?
Okay, I think it's about time that we start
Okay, yeah. Because that's our
The reflection over the whole what you've learned.
yeah.
Yeah. That's so. Move on to. So if you haven't moved on already, you should be now starting to move on to that reflecting over the whole feedback that you've been giving each other on the roles. Okay.
Yeah, so from the feedback of your school friends, what are your expectations and what scores you got and what are your things? And note down the point. You have to write them as well? Or just
They can just discuss. Right? If you want to write them, it can be interesting to save these so that at the end of the project, when we do a reflection on the roles approach, you can see how things change from your first impression of people to having worked with them for 6 months, 3 months, has it changed? Right? So put it in your booklet and save it. Yeah? But no, you don't have to write down your overall reflections on it. But you know, for example, I know so you kind of ran the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would say something about the number you should have had in here is probably quite high on leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's within the this is also a situation you can reflect on later in the process reflections, right? And decide whether or not it was useful. Okay. So yeah, just verbal discussion, but take notes about your verbal discussion.
Yeah, I am actually interested in doing this again. So scores again at the end of this project, you'll see how much has changed.
Yeah. So if you keep the scores in your book,
But,
because you put them into your wee.
Why couldn't they have included that in the book, like so that you can have like an
Oh, yeah,
exercise
that
and then it could be kept?
Yeah, I mean they have.
It's partly because what I've done is they suggest in my booklet that I should do this on day 7. Because, you know, they tell us when to do all of this stuff, right? And I decided, no, I wanted to do the roles early to get your first impressions of each other, and then you can compare that later in the project, like day 12, how that has evolved, right? Because, like, this now gives you a reference point to what your first impressions were in the group, and how has that changed.
Yeah, because some of the question makes way more sense week 7. Like, if you follow the plan, it doesn't make sense before having the plans.
Not like.
Well, yeah, so, but you can have an impression on how people do it, right? And often humans follow their first impressions.
And think like I have to work on that.
But then also, people use reference points. So if we end up either having one person who's bad, then that would bump everyone's range and everyone else up. Or if that we have everyone being perfectly super good and super amazing, and maybe one person is doing super well, then that would be the first medic.
There certainly is an interesting relationship between behaviour and like with like, so for example when I was well when I was in Leatherhammer, we had a heated discussion, like simulate had a heated discussion, and what might consider a simulate a heated discussion is so completely different to what they consider a heated discussion, right? And so also by one of us being very heated, it then does influence the opinion of everyone else, right? And so for example, in a group where there was not much conflict, if you wanted to use the range, you might put someone up at an 8, but then you have me come in the room and I'm offensive and I just take over and do everything horribly, then suddenly that person who was an 8, they don't look like an 8 anymore, right? They really look like a
Should the origin point be like in the lower corner of the sprite or in the middle? No, I mean in the upper left or in the middle.
Yeah.
That's like half a day.
And get religious wars. So we had programmers have religious wars. But yeah, so no, you're right. And the danger of doing this to it is it cements these opinions, and then you just say, oh, I had that because I've thought about it, I've now locked it in place, so when I go back to it and try to fix it, I've already been damaged, right? So there are some challenges if you do this.
Because you become your own stereotypes.
Yes, so having had to tell you something, you're now going to be that even now, right? So there are, for good or for bad, yeah, it can go in either direction, right? You know, particularly on things like you're antisocial.
Okay, so I am the center of the party, but maybe I need to make sure everybody's inspired.
Right, and then you take that, yeah. So and that was also a problem with potentially a problem, and this is something you can discuss around group dynamics and things. Like the way we started by giving you some animals and then making diverse groups that way. Did that cement some things, right? These are not the same categories, and so hopefully, apart from the leadership one, a beer is probably going to be score highest in that first category. But the rest are not related to that animal. But do those animals shape you and then force you to take those roles even if you are normally like that? So it's something to reflect on. Okay, so how are we going with we seem to have still some discussions going on there. How are we going? How far through are we? Because we should be moving on to doing the summing up of what you have learnt about each other from doing this exercise, or about particularly how other people see you in this first impression style reference activity. And if we can, I'd like you guys to discuss where there was the largest discrepancy, or particularly where somebody was shocked by the way that people had an opinion of them. Right? So, and we can start with was anybody surprised by the scores they were given for any of the categories? Not really? A little surprised? It was kind of, oh, okay. But was it pleasant surprise? So the most surprise was a kind of pleasant surprise. Oh, you guys felt I was good at that. Okay, that's nice. or I thought I was being very social and make you guys think I'm terrible. So were there any surprise over there? A little bit of surprise?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised.
Happy surprise.
People think I'm sociable.
Alright, you were surprised at how sociable other people thought you were. So so interestingly, there are for sociability. I'm fully an extrovert, and so I'm also very social. My wife is an introvert, but she's a social introvert, which means she likes spending time with people, but it drains her. So at the end of the day, she's really tired.
I'm sure she's an ambivert.
An amnivert.
Yes. That's in between introvert and extrovert.
So she gains energy by being alone, and she needs alone time, and and in social settings she is drained.
But does she need that social interaction?
Not really.
Okay, never mind.
She enjoys it, but she doesn't need it. So it's not someone who needs it and is drained by it.
She can do it when she needs to.
Yeah, she can do it, and she enjoys it. But you know, when she when she wasn't working, she did spend a week without going outside. so I'd go to work and I'd come home and I'd go into shopping and come home, and she was just happy at home. She didn't need to go out. She didn't need to see anyone else.
Your life.
So that's an introvert, but she's a social. She enjoys it. It's just she doesn't need it, right? Whereas you're right. There is another category of ambivert, which is that you need the social interaction, but it also drains you.
Yeah, you need like a limited amount, but you still enjoy your alone time.
So you're in so yeah, what you find is that sometimes some people will think you're very sociable, where you might feel like, well, actually, I feel introverted. I feel like I'm here, but everybody else sees me as this very outgoing, friendly person. So that's actually quite a common thing for social introverts to have, is that they don't think they're very social, but everybody else thinks they are. So not an unusual, but yeah, not uncommon. Okay, so what was the thing that people most learnt about? Was there anybody who found out something about themselves that they was interesting or different to what they thought they would be? So you were more social. Anyone else? Or relatively quite high agreement at the moment? Not much at the moment. So this doing this exercise early means that there shouldn't probably be very strong opinions, because you haven't had a lot of time to have the fights that might lead to strong opinions. Okay? Save these opinions in your document, in your reflections book, and we'll come back to them much later in the course. Also, think about, in your reflections at the end of the session, think about how did this session run, who ran it, who decided how it was going to be done. So who decided that you'd go through each question or go through each person? How was that decided? Do you remember how that was decided?
No, I'm not part of it.
So,
He ordered us.
So, like how much of the group were involved in making that kind of decision, right? So reflect on just this process. How was it run? Because I didn't tell you whether it's supposed to go across or down, or who was like number one, or like, so you guys had to work that out. How did you work it out? Who was involved in that decision, and who just agreed with what everyone else was saying? Right? So even just reflect a little bit on this process itself as a thing. And also, how did you feel when somebody gave you a low score for something or gave you a high score for something? Did you feel at all defensive at any point, or did it feel like they were criticizing you? Were you afraid? I heard one person say, "Oh, it's a bit scary." So, were you
an emotional person?
Yeah, were you worried about giving feedback and receiving feedback?
Sorry?
You were nervous.
It was awkward.
Awkward.
Like, to receive. I was the first one up, and then
Yeah.
I was
So.
gonna receive all these grades.
So.
Grades up in my face.
Yeah. So.
I'm used to getting grades in Blackboard.
Right. At a distance.
Without the comment like, you got this grade.
Trust me, one of the hard things as a lecturer is when you do an oral exam and you're supposed to fail the person during the exam. Right? So you're in there having the discussion, and so sometimes I'll, like halfway through, I'll go, "Can you tell me anything about this course?"
Oh my god.
If you ever hear me say that to you in an oral exam, you are about to fail. You have one chance to save yourself, and if you're brilliant at telling me about the course, you might save yourself an E. But if I say, can you tell me anything about this course? That means that I've given up on my normal questioning during an oral exam and you're about to fail. Right? So yeah, but then saying to the person, you don't know about the course, therefore you have failed, while they're sitting there in front of you, that's harder than just putting an F on a piece of paper and sending it to
Just writing with his
I think it's a presentation.
like,
No, it's a presentation just a folder, like a
yeah, no, this is too pro. We don't have an oral exam in this course, by the way. Yeah, so there is no, so you won't hear it in this, but you might hear it if you have another course with me where I'm giving you an oral exam. I might have to fail you to your face. That's harder. But yeah, so these grades are just friendly grades. But in reflecting, that's an emotion you can reflect on, right? That's something you can write about in your personal reflections. How it made you nervous, right? How would you deal with that in a future situation? How did you did a good job of expressing that to the group, right? Because I heard you say, "Oh, I'm nervous." So that was a good way of expressing to the group that there was some trepidation, right? It also meant that people are potentially going to try and be less blunt. They might still give you the same number, but by pre-shadowing the "I'm a bit nervous," they're more likely to be a bit more cautious, right? So that's actually a kind of useful social signalling of what's an appropriate way of giving you feedback, right? So even some of those things which you think are just kind of nervous tics, things that you do, they actually also do that signalling job, right? So yeah, and some people will modify their score when if somebody says, "Oh, I'm really nervous," they'll go, "Okay, maybe I'll I'll be." Were any of you nice because she was nervous?
I was the first one to say, so I couldn't really change anything.
You couldn't really change the number you already had written down. but no, there is the potential for you to take that on board while you're responding. So, okay. Right, so for the rest of the day, it's working on your projects. I'm trying to get these two in contact with externals. I'll come around and listen to each of the projects, and I'll give you potential ideas for some externals we probably have for each of your ideas, right? Because we have lots of people interested in VR and VR ideas, and so we can probably connect you up either with companies or with end users. Okay. So overall, thank you for doing that roles thing. Hopefully that was an interesting little initial insight into how your first impressions of each other were. And at the end of the day, we'll write a group reflection on how the Citra exercise and the role exercise worked, and if there are any other conflicts about designing and writing your group contracts. I'd like to see you email those to me so I can see you've all got one, and I'd like to have those all approved before Wednesday next week. Right, so even if you haven't quite finished them now, either finish them now or finish them over the next couple of days and email them to me. Okay? Your cooperation agreements.